This is Jane Low, and I'm at Token 2049 here in Singapore Marina Bay Sands during the F1 week, where a lot of crypto-related events are taking place. So it's really, really exciting. And I'm very, very pleased and very privileged to have Ouriel Ohayon, all the way from Israel, with ZenGo Wallets, going to talk to us about safeguarding digital assets. So thank you so much for your time today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so thank you. So when we talk about safeguarding digital assets in the Web3 world, we're talking about cryptocurrencies, of course, tokens, NFTs, right? And I understand that ZenGo wallets offer users a solution, a self-custody solution, and the security aspects, there's many components. But a very interesting component is what we call the MPC, or the multi-party computational security component. And if I may put on my sort of a general public kind of hats to try to understand what this is, it's sort of like instead of one party signing a transaction, you have two or three. And it's sort of like a joint bank account application where you need joint account holders to sign up for a transaction or go into a safe deposit box.
Nearly that.
Okay, so tell us what it is.
Well, thanks for having me. And indeed, MPC is a new paradigm that has become over the past 2-3 years, a gold standard in crypto security. And the reason is simple. Traditionally in crypto, you safeguard tokens, coin, or NFTs with a wallet that is based on a private key. A private key is a password, is a single password, or if you want to call it, a single factor security password.
Okay.
So if you lose that password or if you lose that security factor, you lose the funds.
Yeah.
And so that's a problem because both attackers but also users can make mistakes and lose their funds. And in essence, this is what happens. Hundreds of billions of dollars have been lost because of that approach to security based on single factor. MPC comes and say, well, we can build security based on multiple factors, multi-factor security at the cryptographic level. And what happens is instead of generating one single private key, you generate independent secrets that are never in the same place at the same time. Mm-hmm. And to take the image that you used about the vault, it's indeed as if you had a vault with 2, 3 or more keys, but with a major difference is that never the keys are in the same place at the same time, and that's the beauty of it.
Right.
If one of the keys get compromised or lost, you're not losing the funds. So it's a revolution. The difference, small, but it's a big revolution in security.
So if we take one common attack vector on a crypto wallet, which is phishing or social engineering, right? So I receive, say, a phishing link. I click on the transaction. It says, please approve this transaction. I accidentally click on it, right? So what happens in this case?
So you have two kinds of phishing that can happen this way. The first one is someone that is driven to download a fake wallet.
That's right.
And usually at this moment, so it can be a mobile wallet or a hardware wallet, it doesn't matter. And at that moment, they will ask you to put your seed phrase to recover your wallet. And so people put the single factor seed phrase security in the system, and then it's game over. They drain the funds. And so this cannot happen with MPC because, at least in our case at ZenGo, there is nothing to write down or to put there because the security is distributed.
That's right.
So this attack is by design protected. The second attack that you are mentioning is you are now into your wallet. Your wallet is fully legit, but you're going to be exposed to a malicious application. And so you're going to click on a link that is promising you a free airdrop or a free NFT or a free token, doesn't matter. And that promise is obviously fake. What happens is that you're going to give permission to that application, and it's going to drain your wallet. A few days ago, Vitalik's account was hacked.
That's right.
And this is what was promoted, and nearly $1 million was lost. Now, this is not specially protected by multi-party computation in itself. You need a business logic that analyzes the interaction with the contract and tells you whether this is safe or not. But multi-party computation elegantly allows you to run a business logic that analyzes interactions with external application and tell you whether the application is dangerous or not before you touch the button send or approve. So we have that in ZenGo. We call that the Web3 firewall, and it's also powered by ZenGo.
Oh, right. So you have different sort of security sort of protocols, or if you call it
yes.
measures,
yeah,
right?
Well, when you build a crypto wallet, you have to protect against many types of problems, of security, of human errors. We just discussed 2 of them. There are many
That's
more.
right.
I mean, there is the problem of recovery, right? What happens if you forgot your seed phrase? We can talk about that. There is the problem of what happens if you die. How do you transmit your crypto wallet to someone? And there are many more issues to discuss.
Now, I want to touch on a little bit about the history of MPC, right? And what inspires or motivate you to come up with this or implement this for ZenGo Wallet. And I understand MPC has a history of 30, 40 years, and it goes back to the days of computer scientist Andrew Yao coming out with this millionaire's problem, right? And so it has been about 40 years. So can you tell us about some of these developments that has been going on in the Web 2 world, pre-Web 3, or even in the Web 3 world that really inspire you and ZenGo Wallet to go with this security measure?
Of course. Well, we have not invented MPC. It's been, as you said, an academic field of research for 30, 40 years. There is a very strong academic playground where I live in Israel for MPC. Most of the things in MPC were discussed, invented there. And this is maybe why there are so many MPC companies in Israel.
Right.
But I would say that commercially, MPC started to be implemented in FinTech in the banking world about 10 years ago. Because the thing that makes MPC usable is that you need to have computing power. You need to have computing power to process all those cryptographic proofs, all those communication rounds, and you cannot do that with a slow computer. And so first MPC has been used in the last, let's say, 15 years in the banking world, traditional FinTech world. It can be used also in the data world when you don't want to expose private data, but you still need to run distributed computing operation.
Right.
Now, what happened is when we started ZenGo, we looked at the wallet problem and the custody problem, and we saw acts still happening, Bitfinex, Parity, and many more, and people that were struggling with the user experience of keeping a seed phrase safe. And so we thought that cannot be the future. If blockchain is going to be the future, there needs to be something that is simpler, that is better, that is safer. And so we looked at all the options, and we knew that we could not use a single factor system like private keys. So we looked at other options. There were 2. Actually 3, sorry, to be honest. They were Shamir secret, which is when you take a private key, you split it,
that's right,
and then you reconstruct it, but you're
yeah.
still generating it, so it's not good enough because it still exists. We looked at multi-sig. It was a possibility to distribute the security, but it's limited because it's public and it's limited to certain blockchains, so you cannot scale. And then there was MPC, but the bad news is that MPC was not used when we started in crypto. So we were the first company in the world to build an open source library for MPC, which we used for our crypto wallet. Now, fast forward 5 years, it's an entire industry. There are tens of companies. There was a conference about MPC 2 days ago.
That's right.
And but today ZenGo is a dominant player in MPC, and the reason it's becoming usable and it's because there is more academic papers, more academic domains. The mobile phones have become more capable, which was not the case 5 years ago. And finally, there is just more people working on it. And so now, fast forward to today, MPC is a true legitimate field of security. It's considered the gold standard, way beyond multi-sig, private key wallets, or even account abstraction. And so we see that it's going to be the future. And we're glad that we took that bet 5 years ago. And so the reason we chose MPC, because it was the best of both worlds. You could have something that is self-custodial, that works on any blockchain, that does not depend on a single point of failure, where the security is distributed, where you can build a great user experience, where you can build something that is software only and does not require any hardware, and does not require a specific cable or something to be plugged into a computer, and yet that offers tremendous superior security guarantees. And so we love that world, and we wanted to build for that. We started first, we started alone, but now it's great because there is an entire industry about it.
To give our audience a sort of a sense, a quick glimpse into like the differences in the software, like you say, built for MPC wallet versus, say, a non-MPC wallet. Could you just give our audience a glimpse into, the software layer, how different it is? I understand you require smart contracts or not smart contracts.
So let's try to speak about it from a user point of view. A traditional crypto wallet, MetaMask, a Ledger, a Treasure, an Exodus, you either download an application or buy a hardware, and the first step is they will generate for you a seed phrase.
That's right.
24, 12, 24 words. And then you have to back it up. You have to keep it somewhere safe. Some provide a paper with a pen, or they tell you keep it safe somewhere, all right? And people do whatever they want. They write it down on a paper, they put it in a safe or whatever, or in a program on a computer. Most wallets work this way. So they work. The problem is that there is a single security factor, which when it is lost or when it is found, it's pretty much game over. In an MPC wallet, and in particular on ZenGo, when you install the application, it's only software on your phone, works on iOS and Android. There is no seed phrase that is neither generated, no shared, no split. You just onboard with an email. You grant an access to a cloud service of your choice that you control. It can be iCloud, Google Drive, Dropbox. There will be more in the future. And then you do a liveness private biometric selfie on your phone. So it's anonymous and it's private on the phone. And then your account is created and is backed up, and you can recover it anytime, even if the phone is lost or stolen. And so what happens in the background is, instead of generating a seed phrase, there is a process, let's call that a cryptographic dance, between the phone and ZenGo server, where in each part there's going to be independent critical secrets that are going to be generated, one on the phone, one on ZenGo server, but they are never going to meet each other. They are never going to be in the same place at no time, even when you're signing a transaction. However, by way of cryptographic operation, they are able to collaborate and dance together as if it was a private key and sign transactions. So when you see an MPC transactions on the blockchain, it's the same as any transaction. However, it never uses a private key. It uses different secret shares that are independent and located separately, call that air-gapped if you want, from each other, in order to collaborate together.
Are the secrets sort of dynamically generated for each time I go onto the wallet?
So that's called key rotation. So when you create the wallet, it's generated once, and then there is a protocol that rotates the keys at a certain frequency, not every time, at a certain frequency, so that if, for example, an attacker could steal one of the shares in the phone,
that's right,
at some point it becomes irrelevant.
Oh, wow, cool.
So that's one of the beauties of it.
So that sounds like, for ordinary users, it's no-brainer to use one of these MPC or ZenGo wallets, right?
It is not just the best option for beginners. It is just the best option, period. Today, if you're looking at crypto custodians, the biggest one, so this time not crypto wallets like a ZenGo, but for institutions, most of the crypto is custodied on MPC solutions because it is the safest protocol. So
what are the other considerations that users might have to take into account? You talk about a lot of benefits, but is there any sort of possibly not benefits, but sort of special considerations?
You mean trade-offs?
Trade-offs.
Yes, of course. Well, if you are really caring about a system where you have absolute control and you are the only one in charge about your security, then MPC is not made for you. What I mean by that is because of the way MPC is distributed with 2 parties or with 3 parties, you are not alone anymore.
That's right.
Okay, so you are depending on more parties. And some people do not like that. They want absolute self-sovereignty. So if you care about self-sovereignty, and I do respect that, I think you do not want to use an MPC solution.
Fair point.
Or you want to use an MPC solution as a complement. However, most people do not really care about that. Okay. Another consideration is maybe privacy. If you want no one to know about what you're doing, and you want to be in an isolated island and have a self-custodial wallet just for you and no one else knows about it, you want to use a traditional private key wallet so that no one knows. But most people have a bank account, most people have a Facebook account, a TikTok account, and most people are comfortable with their data being known as long as it's secure. So I would say for people who are obsessed with self-sovereignty and privacy, MPC or even account abstraction is not for them, or multi-sig. They want to have a self-sovereign solution where they control everything, but that comes at a price. They need to be completely responsible for the security.
Correct, yeah. So
ZenGo provide multiple level of protections. You are protecting against account theft, impersonation.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, if someone steals your phone and sign transaction instead of you, you are protected. Yeah. You are protected in case of death and to plan your inheritance planning.
Recovery. Okay.
Yeah, and inheritance planning. If you are incapable of accessing your wallet and you want it transmitted to someone else, you are protected in case of malicious transaction, and all of that is bundled into the wallet. So you want to think about what can go wrong, and are you protected against most of the security cases that are today in the market? And if you compare, you will see that most traditional wallets, they're doing a pretty poor job at that, right?
Okay, I'm going to ask you a very quick question. You talk about the crypto dance between the wallet and also the ZenGo server in the background. And I think some people may say, okay, so what are the security sort of measures that is protecting the ZenGo server? Because possibly they might be worried that, there could be some possible hacking, into the server and the implications on the users' funds. What does that mean?
It's a very good question. So there can be two types of cases. The first one is someone attacks ZenGo server and controls ZenGo server. So what can they do? Well, basically, they cannot steal the funds of the users. Why? Because in MPC, at least the way we have implemented it, the transaction requires two parties to sign, and the transaction can only be started from the user side.
Oh, right, okay.
So if I'm an attacker, let's say even us, ZenGo, we say, all right, let's take the money from our users, right, as they did with FTX or someone else. We cannot start transactions, we cannot define transactions, and we cannot recover an account for a user. So if an attacker would get control of the ZenGo server, they would not be capable of doing anything. Now there is a second question you might want to ask is, what happens if ZenGo server stops operating at all, right? Because you need two parties to sign.
That's right.
So what happens if ZenGo dies, right? What is the next step? Am I locked into ZenGo? And so this is a very important problem, something that we spent a lot of time to think about day one. And so we have something called guaranteed access. Guaranteed access is a system that is independent of ZenGo. It's not operated by ZenGo. And if ZenGo stops operating after a period of time, where there is no technical proof of life and legal proof of life, and it's verified, then there is a third-party escrow system that takes over and is capable of signing one last transaction with every single user so they can move their funds out of their wallet without ZenGo.
Okay.
So the case of survival of ZenGo is already covered. It's publicly documented in the app and in our website also.
So the escrow presumably is reliable and...
Yeah, it is a very notable recovery company. Actually, Ledger has announced very recently that they are launching a recovery service that is using the same company we've been using for the past 4 years. So it's very reputable. It's been around for tens of years and apparently going to be there for a long time.
And I guess that you'll review the escrow company and the entity and on an ongoing basis to ensure that it's something that...
Not just that, we have also tested that it works, right? Because there could be a bug or something like that. So we made all that precaution. And there is also a legal entity that is independent of the escrow company that verifies every quarter that everything is in place, and that we are still alive. And there is a public record that is published on our website that states that, not made by us, made by that legal firm. So it's a system that is in place. We plan to actually improve that system, to actually decentralize it at some point. And we have made a research paper about it. But already today, the case of ZenGo server being taken over and controlled, and the case of ZenGo server stopping to operate are covered, and so that users are never at risk of their funds being stolen or locked in.
Right. It sounds like you have put in a lot of thought into the security measures to protect this, not just the MPC, but the overall infrastructure.
Correct.
And I'm aware that we're running low on time. So I just want to get your last words on, for users who are selecting crypto wallets. You mentioned, it depends on the extent to which you treasure your privacy, your self-sovereignty. What is your sort of general advice to, say, new users or into the crypto world? what should they think about when they pick a wallet?
I think it's important that when you make a choice of a service in crypto, whether this is a wallet or anything else, you should spend a little bit of time trying to understand how it works. And what I mean by that is, what are the limits of the system? What can go wrong, right? You know, today everyone is repeating blindly, not your keys, not your coins, get a hardware wallet. This is
That's right,
This is how you solve security. But the problem is that these two sentences hide a tremendous number of problems and limits. And so people don't understand those. They understand those too late, when the problem happens, when they lose their seed phrase, when someone phishes them, when they sign a malicious transaction, all these kind of situations. So you want to spend a little bit of time before to understand what are the limits of the system you're going to use. It doesn't require much. You don't need to be a PhD in cryptography. You need to read a little bit here and there, and not on the website of the application. You want to read on the forums. You want to ask around you, and then you make a choice. That's what my first recommendation. The second one is first test. Don't commit first.
That's right.
So try, put a little bit of money, delete the app or the wallet, recover it, get comfortable with it, and progressively learn to trust it. The third thing that I would recommend very strongly is test the customer support. Because people always have questions, not necessarily critical problem, but questions, and you want to know that on the other side there is someone answering. And sadly, in most companies today, customer support is not well handled. So some do it well, but most don't. So try customer support so that you don't feel the surprise, the bad surprise, when the time comes. So I would say, study a little bit before, do your own research a little bit before, test and grow up progressively in trust and commitment and funds put into a system. And third, try the customer support before you need it, so that you know. And if you do those things, you should be, well, it's not perfect, but it should cover most of the issues. Yeah,
those are great tips, actually, especially the customer support part. I think a lot of us underestimate the extent to which that it is very, very critical when we are stressed about, potentially losing our funds. So to have another person at the other end of the line assuring you or giving you advice as to what to do or what not to do, that's invaluable.
Absolutely. And also people sometimes have questions about things happening on the blockchain. Transaction is being late, or
that's right.
An app is stopping working even if you're not the app itself. And so for example, at ZenGo, we put a system in place where we answer in 2 minutes in any language, any time of the day, all around the world, in real time. So something that is really groundbreaking. And so if someone asks us a question in Japanese, we answer in Japanese. A human being, not ChatGPT, not a bot, a real human being.
Right, okay. It has to pass a Turing test, and we'll have to subject it to the Turing
I invite
test.
everyone to test it, but you will see when you see it.
Oh, excellent.
Exactly.
Okay.
And this is, I can confirm, we've handled to this day nearly 500,000 requests from users, all sorts.
Okay.
And so this gives the sense of the weight and the importance of customer support.
Right, okay. Yeah, so I'll give it a test then and let you know.
Please.
So thank you very much for your time today, for sharing with us some quick advice, top tips, and also a very, very quick glimpse into MPC and ZenGo Wallet. So thank you so much for your time today, Ouriel.
My pleasure.
Thanks.